Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 13th of July. Well, the excitement just started as the CPI numbers came in, obviously way over expectations, which are still muted because the way they calculated came in at 9.1, which means you're well over 15%, and the market is reacting to that. Everyone thought this was going to be the peak inflation number and that everything will start to ease from here. That remains to be seen, but it is possible because obviously we got some downward pressure on oil earlier. Here we have the NASDAQ, and again, that breakdown on DOC Magenta, we saw it coming earlier, and we knew the NASDAQ was going to lead the decline, and it has well below 23%. We knew that it wasn't likely to hold support with the breakdown as it was taking place. We look at the euro. 1.00, actually that's parity, but you got that extra 273. We dipped to 1/100,000th of a penny to below subpar, and miraculously they were able to elevate it just at that point to prevent headlines saying the euro has dipped below. But believe me, the euro's not done. There's still more room for the euro to fall. Particularly if the issues in Germany continue to escalate, or Nord Stream doesn't come back. Everyone is very concerned about that one because it literally will cause panic. And there's no substitute. And they just never clearly thought this through beforehand. And these are the impacts that we get from it. Gold obviously suffering from that. But again, there was a great article on Zero Hedge just the other day about the paper market versus the actual intrinsic market, and how they allow, just a limited number of banks to control derivatives that allow them to short shares of paper gold to keep the prices down. Because given what you just saw from that inflationary number, we should be skyrocketing on gold at this moment, and it's not happening. And that's the power of central banks giving them unlimited capability to do that kind of thing. But at some point, there's going to be a break, especially now if you're creating a bifurcation of the market. Outside of U.S. trade could become an interesting arbitrage, because the demand for metal is still not stopping, in fact only increasing. Here we see oil dipping below the key 100 level, so that dip here down to 95 is going to have some impact in a few days, at least for gas prices, and that will make everybody jump for joy for getting a couple extra cents off their tank price. But is it going to be enough? You'd have to sustain below that 100 for a month or so before it will start to have a meaningful impact. Of course, you would think that the demand for treasuries would start skyrocketing, but clearly an implication that the Fed is going to have to continue with rate hikes, which means that obviously rates are going to increase. So you would expect to see that decline much faster, and hasn't happened yet. When we look at Bitcoin, obviously that news also affecting Bitcoin here, now below 19,000. That was a critical break coming off that, and we could see the weight was leading it all the way through, and it just was a matter of the trigger. It went. ETH likewise doing the same thing here in the post market. If you look at the 50K, also doing the same thing, and looking at the 5K right here, boom, that was just catastrophic. And of course, interestingly, that it took place exactly at that same 3863 previous algo level, which I had shorted from the other day, and pretty much left that. We had this nice little faux run up here that was in the pre-market, and boom, as soon as that came out, obviously not what the market really wants, but at the end of the day, I've been saying my expectation was move closer to 32 before 4,000, which, given the odds of where that was taking place when we were almost at 39, was quite an outrageous call. But it was pretty clear that you can temporarily avoid the reality for a little bit, which we've done for quite a few years with the Fed's help. But under this configuration, the Fed is no longer able to participate in the way it did. So that's a different dynamic that we haven't seen in over a decade now. So exciting to have that take place, that we're getting back to more normalized market moves back and forth, and much easier Well, we were reading it fine with the algos, but they were pretty much, consistently one directional, straight up, and only in the last year or so have we seen any real flexibility in that. But as always, though, trade well. We'll talk again later, and look for me on the Skype chat. Keep updating the charts.